Cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to NFL, the Betting Blitz, Week 11. It is Sunday morning, November the 16th, 2025. The Shark and Mikey Money. We are back. Our third or fourth week. I don't even know where it is. Time's a blur, but it's a beautiful morning. We see you guys in the chat. Please engage us on the East Coast and, of course, on the West Coast. A lot going on the card today. We got 12 games, a lot of discussion, tons of divisional games. Mike, we are back. The energy is high. What's going on, brother?
Big week last week. Best bets going 5-2. We're running. We're kicking butt. We're taking names. Appreciate you guys all joining us here. The fastest 50 breakdown here. We're going to give you guys all games in Sunday slot, all within the hour. So welcome in. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button and enjoy. Share this, like, and retweet it for us as we continue to put the work in to help everybody try to cash big tickets. Let's go.
Absolutely. As I said, we got a ton of divisional games. We've been sitting on here for weeks saying so many games in Europe. Of course, we got a game going on in Europe right now. Shout out to Madrid. Shout out to the Dolphins and the Commanders. But so many out-of-conference games where teams haven't played in years. Not the case this week. We are data abundant. It is an opportunity to dominate. Sundays are for the Sharps. Let's get into the card. First game on the card, divisional football. Not surprisingly, Panthers at Falcons, 1 o'clock in Atlanta. Second matchup of the year. We saw the Panthers actually demolish the Falcons earlier this year in Charlotte, 30-0. This is a buy low for both teams in theory. The Falcons have lost 4 straight. They're coming off of an overtime loss in Europe. The Panthers just completely laid down to Mike's guy, Tyler's show last week. Tyler, you certainly showed us the show is real with Tyler. That being said, I think the Panthers probably bounce back heavier here than the Falcons. We open up the show. Mike, any comments?
Split action here. 46% of the bets on the Panthers, 46% of the cash on the Panthers there. So we've moved past the hook there. We've got the 3.5 in this game now. Will it make a difference? We've seen through the NFL season predominantly the team that's winning's winning regardless of what the spread is. 45.5 though are projecting to the under here. We have some heavy movement on the over, and yet this thing's come down to that 41.5. Yeah, look, we talked a little bit about this one backstage as we were getting ready to kick off today, and end of the day for me, I look at this game as a Carolina Panthers spot. I'm not in love with Penix Jr. And on top of that, I've been very vocal about leadership and whether it be from the coaching staff or the key players. We've talked about this with McDaniels and Tua. We talked about this with the New York Jets and Justin Fields. And now we're going to make a comment that Michael Penix Jr. doesn't have anybody coaching this guy. He's looking at his high school coaches, his college coach. I don't get that. That comment just seemed like it came out of left field. And I know this, Atlanta, you found a way to lose to the Colts. The Colts have had like 72 turnovers in the past 2 weeks. They're in the middle of a division slalom game here. They've got the Carolina Panthers this week. They've got the Saints next week. Then they can go probably get the ship righted with the Jets. 0-11 are the Atlanta Falcons as conference favorites after a game as a dog. I'm going to fade them. I'm going to take the Panthers. I'm going to go one step further. I think the wrong team's favored. Give me the plus 3.5. Give me a sprinkle on the money line as well, Shark.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. We're opening up with 2 officials in this game. We like Carolina at plus 3.5. We also do like the under. You get that at 42 or 41.5. And, the market is steaming this down. Truthfully, Mike and I were discussing this before the show. There's not a lot of spots this week that you really say are so unbelievably terrible for a team. It's crazy to say because Atlanta's coming off a 4-game losing streak. So I know a lot of people, a lot of sharps across X, Instagram, TV, whatever, are going to like buying low on that. This is a terrible calendar spot for Atlanta. The last 4 weeks, they've had to play at New England, in Germany, the last 2 weeks. Now they get a home game. They go right back on the road after this for a divisional game at New Orleans, then New York. So when we look back on this in a month, we'll say 5 weeks, 5 cities, plus Europe, 1 isolated home game. This is a terrible spot. And speaking of terrible spots, Michael Penix Jr., what are you doing, bro? This is like one of those things where it's like, think it, don't say it. Talk about disrupting the locker room. Press conference after the game last week, of course, excruciating loss to the Colts, talking about how he has basically no trust in the coaching staff at all. I mean, I was sitting on a previous show going back a couple of years. I didn't love the Rocky Morris hire. Obviously kind of fizzled out with the Bucs about a decade ago. In my opinion, not a great head coach. Would have liked Belichick or others, but not the point. Penix, You don't shade the guy and tell him you're listening to your high school coach. Mike, I mean, just speak on that for a second. How disruptive, right?
The worst part is you're the quarterback. So it goes back to one of my favorite movies, Any Given Sunday. And Al Pacino talks to Jamie Foxx and he says, "You're the top spot, kid. You're the one everybody looks up to, whether you want to be that guy or not. You are, by the nature of the contract, the role, the leadership you wear. They can't hit you in practice. And then you're just going to go out there and disrespect ultimately the entire organization. That's just a bad look. Look, Drake London, like this guy, he's got size, he's got capability. I don't know about this Pitts thing, but they're finding a way to make this guy relevant again too. But I just don't like that from the leader, the guy, the top of the spot, as Al Pacino says, the guy everybody looks up to. And you just throw shade on everybody. That just seems like a flat out disrespect. And that's going to create rips in the locker room. Now, guess what happens with the defense, Shark? Things get by, they get down. They throw a stupid interception and something gets ugly. And where's your invisible juice, Penix? Now you're getting busted up and the defense is going to go out there and start talking smack in the locker room. And it just seems like it's the beginning of an unraveling that you certainly could have stemmed off by just keeping your mouth shut.
Yeah, you talk about leadership, and I think just one final point on this. Really interesting thing that I think happens in pro sports a lot. The owner, who's a great entrepreneur, business owner in a totally different marketplace outside of pro sports, just totally misses the psychology of pro sports. Mm-hmm. This is Arthur Blank. He created Home Depot. He's a billionaire. Fantastic. Raheem Morris, mediocre hire, but then to sign Kirk Cousins and draft Penix top 15 speaks to a total lack of regard for in-locker room psychology, and that's what you're seeing here. So I think it actually comes from the top. I think Arthur Blank completely missed this situation. And just final point on this is absolutely where you want to buy Carolina. Carolina last week did lose, as we mentioned, in the division to New Orleans. That was only the second time that Bryce Young has ever been favored in his career. The last time he was favored, he was actually favored in week 15 last year to Dallas. Cooper Rush, backup quarterback for Dallas, played a terrible game. Very similar game, 30-14 loss, no offense, a bunch of turnovers. The following week, again, as an underdog, he did win and play a very good game against Arizona in a 36-30 win. Previously this year, Carolina 30-0 against the Falcons. Tons of turnovers by Penix and the boys. The Carolina defense will be ready to go. We like Carolina at plus 3.5 and the under and keeping it moving. Next game on the card, one of the few out of division games this week, also out of conference. Bucks traveling to Orchard Park, 1:00, Highmark Stadium. This is going to be an interesting game. The Bucks are off a dud. The Bucks might have been too hot. The Bills are also off a terrible game. Mike, I know it's in your backyard. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, we were all over that Dolphin spot at the 9.5. I know I texted you at halftime and I said, I expected it to be a bad spot for the Bills, but I didn't think they were going to get beat up and beat down like this here. 62% of the bets coming in on the Bucks. Is it an overreaction? 53% of the cash. The question I have is, at what point does the tide wash away and you're exposing all these busted bottles and rocks that are kind of left on the beach out there? What I mean by that is, how long can you continue to be getting through when you're Bucky Irving's out of this game, Godwin's out of this game again? Now they've got we nailed that touchdown prop last week with the Bucks, and we were there right off the gate, got that touchdown for us here. 5.5, tricky spot. We talked backstage of the meaningful games. I like to look at some of the spots ahead. What do they have going on next week as well? And this is one of those rare spots where the Bucks actually have something going on next week in terms of relevance. They're playing the Los Angeles Rams, so they're going to be on the road. It's a difficult travel spot. They just had them Patriots. Man, look at Drake May finds a way to go out there and get it done. Wrong about the Bucs side last week here at 5.5, though. This line's come down 49.5 to 46.5. I think it's the wrong move here. As a matter of fact, I like the over in this game. Yeah, they've got a ton on deck next week with Tampa in the travel spot, but Buffalo's been firing the pigskin around out there despite that tough situation last week. Tampa finds themselves 9-0 to the over when they're in the dog roll. The total's under a 53, and they're coming off a game that they had more than 3.9 yards per rush out there. So in other words, when they're moving the chains, they're being effective. They're not just kind of getting out there 3 and down and 3 and out, and they're scoring points. And when they go over, they're going over by 15.5 points a clip. So I like the over in this game. I'll take the over 46.5.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly see it. My official in this game, we're going to the home team here, taking Buffalo at -5.5. And when I was looking at this game, this really correlates for me to a game that Tampa Bay played outside of the division at the Lions in prime time, going back a few weeks ago. exact same line. Detroit was laying -5.5. They did win the game 24-9. And I think ultimately this is just a continued sell of the Bucks, who started this season with 4 of their first 5 wins by 1 possession. And truthfully, road games that they got very fortunate to win. The Bucks are still currently a sell high in the market in road environments. 4-1 ATS on the road. However, 4 covers at teams with a combined record 16-21. So a lack of quality. They did cover at Seattle and Houston. Key point, Houston really gave the game away in the fourth quarter, as did Sam Darnold and the Seahawks with a late interception to really gift the Bucks a win. This is where the Bills will bounce back off an abysmal road effort. The only other time this year they had a terrible road game, they lost 24-14 at Atlanta. And the game after that, they exploded on offense 40-9 against an actually competitive Carolina team. This is a bounce back for the Bills. Sell high for the Bucks. Take the Bills -5.5, and let's cash. Next game of the card, back to divisional football. Can't exactly say we're excited. Nissan Stadium, 1 o'clock. What's going on in Nashville? Mike, if we were down there, we'd say, F this game. Let's go to the bars. This is an absolute disaster. Houston, Tennessee. Tennessee, Cam Ward, campaign 1. One word, ineffective. Houston, questionable. Now starting Davis Mills. Crazy game last week. Backdoored the hell out of the Jags. Probably unsustainable. Cam Ward, maybe a buy low. Mike, any thoughts?
This is an ugly game, man. Texans, you're right. This is a go to the bar, enjoy some time in Nashville, enjoy the scenery, maybe go check some country music out if that's your thing. -3.5 have moved to 5.5 now for the Texans, with 63% of the bets and 59% of the cash coming in on them Texans here. And does that mean that there's an upgrade with the Davis Mills side of things? You and I talked about this backstage as well. We said, look, what are we facing here? CJ Stroud's not the CJ Stroud of yesteryear. And why do I mention him? Because what do we have to replace? How much production do we have to replace out there? Is Davis Mills that much of a step backwards? I guess this is just a spot where this line's low, man. This thing's gone all the way down to 37.5. I think that's for a reason. I think that's for cause. I don't know if I can get behind the Texans in this game. I hate this game. This is probably one of the worst on the card. I do see the Texans here. Rest disadvantage, had more than 23 completions the previous game. They're 0-13-1 against the spread. I think you probably got to take a look to the Tennessee Titans on this side of things here, but I don't like it, man. If you're going to do anything, close your nose and take the Titans for me in this game. What do you think, Shark?
I think, as I said, if we were down there, we got a couple shots lined up at the bars. We got some beautiful ladies. We're hanging out. It's Nashville. But if you're actually in this stadium, maybe get a beer as well, because it's going to be boring. We do think the under is a top look. I actually think the first half for the Titans is the best look in this game. Throughout this rookie campaign for Cam Ward, he's had a few home games where, truthfully, they haven't really looked good throughout the entire 60 minutes, but they have looked good in the first half. Go back to actually Cam Ward's first career home start. It was week 2 against the Rams. The Rams ended up covering the game 33-19. Tennessee was actually in complete control of the game in the first half, and that's a very good 7-2 Rams team here in week 11. Slightly later on, they actually competed very well against New England early, particularly in the first quarter. And their most recent home game against the Chargers, they were up in the first half as well, 14 points in the first quarter. I think the first half in this game, Tennessee, is absolutely the best look. One thing that I picked up on when I was capping this, which I thought was very interesting, this is actually the second of 4 consecutive home games for the Titans with a bye week last week. So you talk about advantageous scheduling in a league where some teams, like we said, the Falcons, 5 cities in 5 weeks. This is actually 6 straight weeks at home for Tennessee. I don't know if the league said, hey, Cam Ward, we love you. Great campaign at Miami last year. So when it gets cold out, we're going to let you sit in your house. Your last road game, October 26th at Indianapolis, in a dome, no less. Right. You don't have another road game until December 7th. That is the longest window you will ever find for any team in pro football to not have a road game. That speaks to fluidity, comfortability. They're going to find something here. I wouldn't disagree with Mike that I think this is a scrappy dog take. However, I think the first half is probably best. If you want to bet this game, again, advisory. Get some drinks in your system and take the Titans in the first half. Keeping it moving, next game on the card, more divisional football. Far more interesting stuff here. NFC North. Vikings hosting the Bears, 1:00 in Minnesota. Bears 6-3, 3-2 road. I know Mike thinks they're too hot. Vikings 4-5, 1-3 at home. Probably too cold. This is a tough game. Mike, any thoughts?
Yes, thoughts indeed. I might have been a year too early when I said it. The Chicago Bears going to be the best team in the NFC North last year. Shout out to my guy Razor Sharp. He knows what I'm talking about. But look, 6-3. They're top of the trop right now, man. They are on the top of the pile. We talked about this backstage as well, and this is one of those games where I looked at it and thought, we're going to have to start fading these Bears. The question isn't if now, it's when, and it's going to be a matter of, I think we're coming up to it here. You got the Vikings, and the reason I say that is look at who they played. So they've squeaked out some wins. We nailed the under last week in this game. We talked about the weather and the elements against the Giants, and they certainly were able to gut that win out. They've gutted quite a few wins out. Problem is when they've played anybody besides Cupcakes, they've just rolled over. Week 1 was a home loss. Granted, the season opener, Caleb Williams figuring things out, 27-24 to this Minnesota Vikings team. They go on week 2, they lose to the Lions. They go smack a bunch of Cupcakes around, and they got to play the Ravens. The Ravens smack them in the mouth. So this schedule coming up for Chicago Bears, Minnesota. Then they got the Steelers, Eagles, Packers, Browns, Packers, Niners, Lions to finish off the season 0-10. If they're a dog less than 6 points, they had less than 65% of their passes last game as a favorite. They're getting busted up by 14.2 points a game. I'm going to go on the Minnesota Vikings. I don't care who's starting on the quarterback side of things here. The Bears, I think they get exposed here. And we're going to start auto-fading these guys here over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. This game is going to be tough for me. I think that this game truly is going to be a field goal game either way. The best look in this game for me is going to be the over. Obviously, these teams did play in week 1. J.J. McCarthy, first career start, 27-24, complete backdoor. Chicago was in complete control of that game. Primetime Monday Night Football, Soldier Field. Key point, 27-24 over 43.5. So this is divisional line functionality. Books see an over at 43.5, and the books have the opportunity to do whatever the hell they want with the line. They could move it down and say that was an outlier. No, they're moving it up, 45.5. I have this game projected to hit 48 points or more. And one point on this, which I thought was at least worth mentioning, obviously Ben Johnson, first year head coach for the Bears, offensive coordinator for the last couple of years for the Lions. I said to myself, how did the Lions offense travel to M&T Bank Stadium, Flores, blitzing, noise? Obviously, the stadium very well known for foghorns and all sorts of stuff. They've actually played very well. Ben Johnson has led the Lions to extreme amount of points, over 30 points per game in the stadium the last 2 years. Over is an elite look in this game. Take the over. Mike likes the Vikings. I see a tight game and keeping it moving. Next game on the card, out of division football in the New York area. This is in New Jersey, East Rutherford, MetLife Stadium. Packers traveling to the Giants. A lot of moving parts in this game. The Giants just fired Brian Dable. They promoted Mike Kafka. To give you guys a slight little breakdown on that, Mike Kafka, quarterback Northwestern, 4 years, 2005 to 2009. Actually was the quarterback coach for the Chiefs early in Mahomes' career. Mahomes winning Super Bowls, looking great. Of course, that is Patrick Mahomes being a legend, but the coaching does stand for something. Jameis Winston, welcome to New York. This guy's a gunslinger, a lot of interceptions, number 1 overall pick, crazily enough. Easy to forget as a journeyman this guy's become. I think this game's an over. I think this is where you want to buy low. I think the Packers have showed an inability to score at Lambeau, not on the road. Mike, over or any thoughts?
Yeah, this is a great spot for, not to disrespect Kafka, but, you can't go to Northwestern and be a dummy. I mean, you got to be a smart guy to go out there. And I think he does have that. A great breakdown there with the MVP with Patrick Mahomes side of things as well. Packers coming off of just getting busted up on a primetime game out there. Tight score, low score. Some people were not happy with it. It was cold, man. It was like 20 degrees out there. 62% of the bets, 68% of the cash have come in on this Packers. This is a tricky spot with a narrative factor. I think the total is the right way to look at this game because you never know how a team's going to respond after that coach gets fired. I don't know that they had problems with Dable. I think the problem was fundamentally how the Giants are constructed as a football organization. When you got 3 quarterbacks, we could have said this from the beginning of the season. You got 6, 7 dudes in the locker room. You don't have one. And unfortunately with Jackson Dart, it looks like he's the guy. Scatterboo gets hurt as well. It's like, man, they've already forgotten about this guy on top of it here. The Giants do find themselves in a 9-0 under position, but I got to look at this Green Bay Packers team. I think they get some points on the board. I like this correlates with your over spot out there. To me, yeah, you allowed 33 points in the fourth quarter to the Broncos. You follow it back up. They've allowed 38, 34, and 24 on top of that. I'm going to take the Packers team total over 24.5. I think that's a sharp look for us. Josh Jacobs, I think he goes off 2+. I think it's a huge week for Josh Jacobs in fantasy and player props. They're going to beat this team up. They're going to drag him. They're going to just boat race him and drag him around the field. So give me the Packers team total over 24.5. I like Josh Jacobs to get 2+ touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like this is a great handicap. It's also kind of a fun handicap because most of the time in this league, and frankly, most sports, the over is not a contrarian spot. I mean, like overs are more public. People just like to see points. They don't like to take unders. This is really a contrarian over. I mean, the Packers the last 2 weeks at home have scored 13 points against Carolina, and then in primetime last week, 7 against Philadelphia. That's 20 points in 2 weeks, and now the total's 24.5. Your eyes should light up. Really sharp buy low here. And it really has been the Packers again, Lambeau versus road this year, 1-4 versus the home over, 20% cover, 3-1 versus the road over, 3-0 last 3. Only time playing road at NFC East, week 4 at Dallas. This is not 10-7 against Philly. This is 40-40 in overtime. 80 points. And then slightly later on, 27-23 at Arizona and prime time at Pittsburgh, week 8, 35-25. This is distinct polarization. For whatever reason, they're not scoring at home, and the road is just open season. And final point on this, as we mentioned, Jameis Winston is just a gunslinger. He's like Joe Flacco. You insert Flacco into the game, you just see how it opens up completely. A lot of downfield passes, a lot of sacks, turnovers, probably a pick 6. Final point on this. Last year when Jameis was the quarterback for Cleveland, his first start midseason did go over 29-24 against Baltimore. Over's the best look and keeping it moving. Speaking of AFC North football, Bengals-Steelers, 1 o'clock in Pittsburgh. Interesting game here. This is a rematch of a game played recently with Joe Flacco as quarterback for the Bengals. 33-31 Cincinnati. I know the revenge game market is going to love the revenge here. I don't know if it's coming. I think Pittsburgh's a sell. I've been saying it on shows for weeks. Mike did not know this apparently last week, but he has learned in the interim. Mike, I think we're fading the Steelers here.
Did you ask me last week? You're like, what do you keep taking the Steelers for? You like them or something? I was like, no, I hate the Steelers. And then I remember watching that game. I was texting you. I was like, I hate the Steelers, man. So they've ended up on my crap list, and they are definitely on the do not bet pile. And regardless of whether it was them or not here, I do like what this Flacco brings. That's a great talk point there about the gunslinger nature out there. Flacco's been a machine, and he's done it time and again. So can he withstand the test of time here? The Steelers are 9-0 against the spread if they've got more than 3 days of rest off a non-cover by more than 8.5 points. So kind of a tricky situation, but I can't do it. I can't buy into this. This Steelers team just looks awful, man. They're flat. The motivation spots they should have, they don't have them. I think the problem here, despite you built an old roster, you own it. We all saw it coming. Your average draft or your average acquisition was like 34 years old in the offseason. I don't know if that's true or not, but you can do the math and fact check me on it. Point is this. If you're Tomlin and you're used to getting in guys' face, you're the screaming at them, telling them to be better type of guy, and you can't do that with professionals. I don't think Tomlin knows how to coach this team, and Tomlin doesn't make adjustments in game. He's just one of those guys that sits there stoic, staring at everybody, trying to stink eye everybody when things don't go the right direction. That's not going to work, dude. Bengals plus 5.5. This line opened at minus 1.5 with the change of the guard from Burrow to Flacco. 5.5 is the number out there now. They've sidelined him again because they want to continue with Flacco. He's going to go out there and find Jamar Chase. We see this is a really good offensive game as well. 46.5 smooth to 49.5. I like the Bengals at plus 5.5. I wouldn't be surprised at 2-1 money. These guys come out there and find a way to get the win as well. But I'll take the Bengals official plus 5.5. I love this play.
Yeah, I think that's a great psychological point. They're talking about Joe Burrow now actually entering the 2 to 3 week window where you can return. That adds tons of incentive to this game. I mean, this is the point where it's like must win. It actually reminds me of the game that the Ravens beat the Bears a couple of weeks ago with Tyler Huntley, where it was a backup quarterback had to win to give the starter a chance once the starter came back. very similar game. And again, Flacco's an ex-Super Bowl champion winning coach. Right. It's not Tyler Huntley. This guy's won a Super Bowl. He's very, very legit. He's 2-2 ATS as a starter for the Bengals. Crucial point, those two non-covers last 2 weeks, week 8 and 9, actually before a bye week last week, 39-38 lost to the Jets. They were up in the game. They blew it. We did tell you the Jets were going to get them that week, so we have a feel for this team. But it was only a 1-point loss. Week 9, 47-42 against Chicago. Crazy game, back and forth. Chicago had a big lead. They gave it all the way back. Eventually had a long touchdown inside of a minute in the fourth quarter to win and cover. Again, key point, 5-point loss. So even the non-covers have not come by more than 5.5. Here's your line, plus 5.5. And I've said this for weeks. Pittsburgh is a sell. If we're talking about Flacco being motivated to really prop up the ship for Burrow, this is Aaron Rodgers potentially retiring in the offseason. And Mike said it, Mike Tomlin, just psychologically flat. He's been around here for almost 20 years. He won a Super Bowl almost 20 years ago. People rag on Jeff Fisher. He's the new Jeff Fisher. Yeah. Every year, they're mediocre. Maybe they get one playoff game and out. I think Tomlin could be done after this year as well. So psychologically, we're already getting towards almost December. These guys are kind of looking towards vacation almost. I think there's significantly more motivation on the Bengals in this game. And final point on this, I'll just keep saying this week after week. Pittsburgh has been outgained 8 of 9 games this season, and they're somehow 5-4 straight up. You're getting dominated at the line of scrimmage, and you're somehow over 500. They're currently getting outgained by 858 total yards on the season. It's almost 100 yards per game. That's like a bad high school team just playing against the crosstown rivals, and they just literally are not as good as the league. I think the Steelers are complete fool's gold. Take Cincinnati at plus 5.5, and let's cash. Final game at 1 o'clock. Chargers at Jags, Everbank Stadium in North Florida. Really interesting game here. I think a very entertaining game we're going to see. Chargers traveling pre-bye East Coast. Chargers have not performed very well road out of the division this year. Actually 0-3 ATS. Didn't cover at the Giants. Didn't cover in this state at Miami, 29-27. And really kind of laid an egg at Tennessee. So short line, the Jags are scrappy. Mike, you're looking towards the Jags.
I am in this case here. I think, again, you get a home team with the 3 points out there. It opened at -1.5. It's moved to -3. 69% of the bets, 72% of the cash coming in on the Chargers. Totals dropping 46.5 down to 43.5. And maybe Jags have to fall into the one. We'll see what happens this week, and I'll have to strongly consider my position and how I'm valuing this Jacksonville team, because I think when you look at Trevor, ATN, you look at T-Law, now they had some injuries as well, and that's obviously a factor to contend with here, but tricky home spot. Dropping home here for this game. They had 2 on the road. They played Vegas and Houston. They split them. Tight games, split them. They come home, then they go back on the road, and they have Arizona and Tennessee. So you got to step up, boys. If you're going to be alive for the playoffs, this is the time you've got to do it. And it's a great position from a home perspective, because you've got the Los Angeles Chargers. And what are they doing? They're going into a bye after this. Why is that relevant? Because the Chargers, they show up flat when it comes to going into a bye position. I know you'll talk a little bit about some of the scheduling here as well, but look, Jacksonville, this has got a lower scoring game written on it. The Chargers 2-8-1 going into the bye. Jacksonville 12-0 to the under at home after they went over by more than 6.5 points. Didn't cover by more than multiple points. So what that basically means is the game went over the total by a touchdown, and it was tight, as I mentioned, and they're going over by, or they're staying under by 12 points a game in those positions out there. Probably this is a Chargers team total under spot, but I'll take the Jaguars. I'll take them at the +3.
Yeah, tough game for me. I wouldn't disagree with what you're saying, though. This is actually a really interesting buy low for the Jags. The Jags are coming off of back-to-back road games, actually 3 straight away from Everbank Stadium with a bye week included. So they haven't played at home actually since week 6 on Sunday, October 12th. It's been over a month. That month has not been very good for the Jags. They got absolutely annihilated in Europe. Usually their home turf. They got a big fan base over there. They didn't show up at all for those London fans. 35-7 Rams, week 7, early in the morning. The last 2 weeks have been egregious non-covers. Absolutely egregious. 2 weeks ago at Vegas, 30-23 in overtime. Mike and I, we mentioned this last week. We thought the game was over. There's a new rule. They get a revenge or rebuttal, whatever you want to call it, if it's not the first possession, touchdown. Okay, fine. They still couldn't get a stop. End up winning, not covering, -3, 30-29 at Vegas. Last week, I got no words. 29-10 in the fourth quarter in a divisional game at Houston against a backup quarterback, Davis Mills, who prior to winning last week was 1-16-1 at NRG Stadium. I don't know what Trevor Lawrence was doing. I don't know what Liam Cohen was doing. I don't know what anybody was doing. Blowing a 19-point lead and losing 36-29, getting outscored 26-0 in the fourth quarter. That's more impressive than what Bo Nix did to the Giants. Davis Mills, welcome. I don't know what's going on. Nonetheless, 0-4 ATS last 4, something Mike and I have touched on now every single show. These teams that are 0-4 ATS over a window are a buy low. The Jags are actually 3-1 ATS at home this year. As I mentioned, they haven't had a home game in over a month. I would agree with Mike. I think this is a Jags spot. Take the Jags and let's cash. That's 7 at 1 o'clock. Then we got a little break.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You guys, appreciate you watching. Make sure you get your comments in the chat. Love to see the interaction. Hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done so already. Show the support for the show. Just takes a second. Costs you nothing. It helps us a ton. We want to keep growing this thing. Make sure you get a second to smash that thumbs up button.
4 o'clock slate, 4 games, 4 divisional games in this cluster this week. First game, we're going to the Rams, Seattle at LA, 405 SoFi Stadium in Inglewood. This is a tough game. You know, some of these divisional games have a lot of access. Some of them are really tough. Interestingly enough, this is pretty much the polar opposite of what we said about the Titans-Texans game. That was tough because both teams stink. This is tough because both teams look excellent. Seattle 7-2, Rams 7-2, Seattle 4-0 on the road, Rams 3-1 at home. Something's got to give in this game. I don't know what it is. Mike, what do you think about this?
Man, this is the Matty Stafford MVP campaign game of the century right here. Both of them coming in. I mean, what an index game with the spreads and the covers and Sammy Darnold. There's so many counter narratives going on with this thing that it makes your head spin a little bit here. Line's coming down. We're seeing 3s. 75% of the bets, 79% of the cash on the Seahawks. And we're seeing the total climb 45.5 to 48.5, 44% of the bets, but 59% of the cash. I think we're going to see a shootout in this game. I don't know if I disagree, but I do like this Rams side of things here. Rams 10-0 divisional games, more than 18 completions the previous game out there. They covered the spread at a clip. I think this is one of the Matty Stafford. What is his touchdown to interception ratio right now? Like 20-2 in the last couple of weeks out. This guy's been firing. Puka, is he going to be back? You know, there's also, look, former Rams receiver that found his way up there in Seattle. So this should be a fun game. This is going to be an enjoyable one to watch. I think we have a lot of fun. A lot of people saying, why isn't this game the Sunday night game? Why isn't it getting flexed? Well, it's because the Lions and the Eagles are playing, dummies. That's a big game too. So I like the Rams, though. I think they get a way to find the cover here. It's 3 points. It's come down to the point now that I think we've got a buy situation here. Probably not going to be much more than 3 or 4 points total on the game. I think it's a tight game, Shark. What do you say?
Totally agreed. As I said, when you find 2 teams that are equally hot, it's very difficult. One of them's going to somehow come down a little bit. I think it's a Rams spot. I don't love it. I do think the over is the best look in the game. However, obviously these teams did play 2 times last year. Different dynamics. It was Geno Smith, but there were a lot of points in both games. The most recent one, it was actually late season, week 18, January the 5th, going back last week of last season, first week of 2025, 30-25 Seahawks over. The previous one last year involving Matthew Stafford, Jimmy Garoppolo was actually the quarterback for the Rams in that week 18 game. 26-20 Rams in overtime. Key point, it actually went under, but it went over in absolutely egregious fashion. In that particular game, there was 178 penalty yards. That's almost 2 football fields of penalty yards and almost 800 combined actual yards. It's almost 1,000 yards in that game, including penalty yards. That's like college football. How the hell did that end 26-20? I'll tell you how. 4 interceptions in the game, 3 by Geno Smith. This is going to be a cleaner game. Darnold's playing great ball, as Mike mentioned. Stafford is playing like he's literally 2012 with the Lions throwing to Calvin Johnson. This is going to be an over. It's getting steamed up in the market. It opened at 48.5. We're seeing 49s, and I believe some 49s and 49.5s. Top look in this game. We'll give it to you guys officially. Take the over, 48.5, and let's cash. Next game on the card, also divisional football in the NFC West. Niners at Cardinals, round 2. Quarterback change in this one. Brock Purdy, welcome back. It's been a while. We've seen Mac Jones here for almost 2 months. Pretty crazy that the mainstream media is actually talking about a quarterback controversy. I get it. Mac Jones has looked pretty solid. He hasn't looked as good as Brock Purdy's looked over the years. Brock Purdy is a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, ladies and gentlemen. Mac Jones is a serviceable backup who might get another chance next year with another team to become a full-time starter. This is an upgrade for the Niners. And I think this is also a very important game for the Niners. As we just mentioned, they are third in division, 7-2, 7-2. They are 6-4. They're also entering a sequence of games they can absolutely dominate. San Francisco's next 4 games: at Arizona, Jacoby Brissett, backup quarterback, versus Carolina, at Cleveland, a bye week, and Tennessee. They expect to win all 4 of those games and be 10-4 in week 15. I'm looking towards the Niners. Mike, I know you have a bit of a love affair with Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if it's Parcells' comments, maybe the quarterback commercials we've seen on TV. Maybe you like NC State. Maybe he made you a nice turkey one Thanksgiving when he was not playing in the league. I don't know what it is. You're leaning towards Arizona somehow, I believe.
Oh, man, this is a tricky game. You know, last week I couldn't have been any more. It felt like I lost that game 10 times, that Arizona Cardinals spot. I mean, it only counted as 1, but that thing was 72-0 at halftime. It was disgusting. It made me sick. And yeah, it is an upgrade because you look at the Mac Jones side of things here, and win one, lose one, win one, lose one. They're beating the good team, the bad teams. They're losing to the good teams, and you're in a tough situation because you got 2 teams that are going to make the conference playoffs here at 7-2 sitting atop of you. It's now or never if you are the Niners to make a move in this game. Problem is they got an index spot here with the Monday Night Football game coming up next week. Does that mean that they get a little bit of an extra? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to pair. I don't know how that plays out with this game here. I know I'm disgusted by what happened with that Arizona spot last week. 13-0-1 to the over. We find the Niners in this position with this game. If they allowed more than 4.86 yards a play last game. In other words, they're clipping off, 2 plays to get a first down on average. And they're going over the total by 9.8 points a game here. I got to really give this one some thought. I want to take the Cardinals. I just once bitten, twice shy. Fool me once. How's that saying go here? I think the over is a good looking spot for some points in this game. 47.5 to 48. I do like to fade the star player when he comes back to a lineup as well. So I'm kind of waffling all over the place with this game, Shark. I gotta have you steer me in the right direction. What are you going to do with this game?
Yeah, truthfully, I think in pro football, and again, this is just more so zooming into like this season and last season off the top of my head. When guys come back, they've actually performed pretty damn well. We saw Lamar Jackson come back and they just started covering spreads, no problem, pretty dominantly. It's a little bit different than NBA basketball where like guys come back and it takes a week to figure it out. But again, they're playing so many more games. There's so many more substitution. Yeah. Like it's a little more black and white. You got 1 game a week. You got 2 units, offense and defense. And it's just more premeditated from a scheme standpoint, watching film all week. Also, I don't think in the current state of this sport, they're bringing guys back prematurely as much anymore. They're almost waiting too long to bring them back. And I also don't think this injury is that catastrophic. It was like a turf toe or something. It's not like he got concussed and he, real questionable in the brain or had a significant break or like a ligament injury. If there's going to be an injury, I think this is sort of soft. And as you mentioned, I think really the best point, if not one of 3, which I'm about to drop here, this is just a San Francisco team that is flip-flopping wins and losses every single week. Since week 3, they are literally just going win-loss, 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 win-loss. They're 4-4 ATS last 8. So given that pattern, they just got blown out against the Rams. You buy. And I think if you look at Brissett, I said this to Mike before the show, there's a bit of a love affair with backup quarterbacks. You see it. Actually, crazy enough, you saw it with Flacco. Flacco covered his first 2 games. He's 0-2 last 2, even though we just told you to buy him. Hopefully we didn't miss that. But this is where Brissett covered a couple games. He caught the Colts snapping on the road. He caught the Cowboys napping on the road, he's a backup for a reason. He's a journeyman for a reason. He's not starter status. You saw it last week, an absolute blowout, 44-22. Seattle was up 35-0 in the second quarter. And as I mentioned, this is a unique spot for the Niners. They need these games. This is a playoff game for the Niners. And final point on this, these teams did play in week 3, Mac Jones versus Kyler Murray. San Francisco 16, Arizona 15. In my opinion, if San Francisco can beat Arizona with Mac Jones as quarterback against a starter, so you actually have the backup beating the starter, now you have the starter playing the backup from the other team. So I think this actually gets stronger from the standpoint of San Francisco. I think San Francisco wins this game by 10 points. And final point, Mike, you had the over in this game. I completely align. 16-15, under 43.5. Same season, line functionality moved up to 47.5. The Niners are giving up tons of points. This is track meet city from the Cardinals. I have 52 points, 2 officials, 1 game. Take San Francisco at -3 and the over at 47.5. That is actually at 48 now. Next game on the card, more divisional football. We love this on this Sunday, a suddenly not so casual Sunday, November the 16th. Ravens at Browns, second game of the season. Here we are, data abundant. Here we are, Lamar Jackson. Here we are, Dylan Gabriel, quarterback carousel for the Browns. Previously this year, Joe Flacco, we've mentioned him so many times on the show, was actually playing quarterback for the Browns. And he went to M&T Bank Stadium and got absolutely obliterated 41-14. You're going to get a reversal here in a lot of directions. You had a blowout, you had an over. I think it's actually a tighter game and an under. Mike, any thoughts?
This is ugly. This one's ugly, man. Baltimore still, we said this a couple weeks ago. People are kind of coming out of the woodwork now talking about it like, Baltimore's still favored to win in the AFC. And yeah, guess what? It's been like that for 5-6 weeks now. So if you're just coming into the Baltimore party, you missed the boat. Yeah, Lamar's back and they're starting to look like who they were, who they're supposed to be out there. I still think they compete in the AFC, and we probably still see it's a Bills, Ravens, Chiefs situation and setup out there, but I don't want any part of this Browns team. It's a low number at 38.5. So I completely agree here. This looks like an under. Baltimore has got a 10-0 over situation going on, more than 3 days rest and got more than 20 first downs the previous game. So moving the chains like crazy. They're going over by 9 points a spot. Maybe it's a Baltimore team total over, but with these games at 4:00 window, I find myself in one of those unique situations where I say, we don't have to play them all, but it's too many points. I don't want to get in this game. I don't want anything to do with this game. How about that? I'll pass.
Yeah, truthfully, I think this is where you're going to find at least a competitive game from the Browns here. And you can get +7.5 in the market. Let me just check that right now on the spread here. Yeah, you can get +7.5. This is just going back to a really nice conversation, which we seem to have almost every single week. Teams can win, which is all they care about, and not cover. And I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see Baltimore win by 3 to 5 points. And I do think you're going to see an under. That game played earlier this year, 41-14, really kind of outlierish stuff. There were actually only 31 first downs in the game. Baltimore scored 41 points with only 14 first downs. I mean, that is like astounding. Couple advantageous field position spots. I believe a defensive touchdown. Cleveland somehow lost that game by 24 points. Cleveland had 323 yards in the game, and Baltimore only had 242. How do you lose a game by 24 points when you outgain a team by almost 100 yards and hold them to only 14 first downs? Which brings me to really the final point. Cleveland has a great defense, and this is going to be an outdoor game. It's clearly not the old dog pound, but it is Huntington Bank Stadium. What a name that is. Of course, shout to a local bank, but this is a big crowd. It's going to be cold. It's going to be hostile. And truly, this is a rivalry game. It's a revenge game. Dylan Gabriel is going to scrap. This is going to be a game where you see Baltimore somehow win this game like 18-15. Take the under and let's cash. Final game on the afternoon card. Big time stuff here at Mile High. Chiefs traveling to the Broncos. Broncos have won 7 straight. Chiefs off a bye week. A lot of narratives here. Mike, you don't like narratives. You don't like square takes. You don't like public takes. I think this is going to be a contrarian special. Talk to me on this one.
You're going to hate it. Listen, we all know the deal. Andy Reid off the bye. Andy Reid, he's 22-5. Those are straight up numbers. I get it here. And I'm not the biggest Bo Nix fan in the world either, but I'm going to take the Broncos here. Another one where I think maybe we could shock and awe these guys with a wrong team favorite situation. 58% of the bets are on the Chiefs, 73% of the cash. Everybody thinks the Chiefs are in the big dollars, the big money, the big betting market. Like these boys to go out there and do it. 45.5s moved down to 45s and 44.5s. 52% of the bets on the under, 53% of the cash on the under. I like the under in this game. Right off the gate, I'll tell you this. This is a double spot for me. I got intersecting zeros. We love intersecting zeros. They try to paint a picture. Intersecting meaning that we got zeros on both sides. Kansas City, 11-0 to the under, totals less than a 48.5 off a bye week. They're averaging 36.4 points a game, Shark. That's a good 10-pack under the number for us. They're also 9-0 to the under off a spread loss of more than 6.5 points. Who'd they play the last time? They played the Bills going into that bye week. So, yeah, they took that spread loss out there. Then they got Denver on the other side. This is where they intersect. Denver 10-0 to the under, more than 7 days rest, total less than 50.5 off a spread loss. They're seeing 36.7 points a game in that spot as well. So I like the under. I'm going to get in on this under. My friend says, get in where you fit in there. The under makes a lot of sense. But Kansas City, I'm fading them. Here's the deal. Everybody's talking about Andy Reid, and I get it. And I'm not going to be mad at anybody that wants to go down that whole process. They are 0-17. If they played an AFC opponent the previous game, allowed more than 5.9 yards a play, 55% or greater completions. That was that Bills game they played heading into the bye. That puts them in an 0-17 position. I get it. They're going to come back. They got themselves a situation, but guess what? Denver had that mini bye week after playing on Thursday as well. So they're a rested team. I think they both get up for this game. I think it's a tight score. I wouldn't be surprised to see Denver pull the win, but I'll take the 3.5. We'll see what we can get out there. If 3.5 seems like a pretty good price. This might even get to 4 by the time kickoff pops off this Sunday afternoon slot.
It seems like every week we have one game where Mike and I disagree. And it always seems to be the big games, which actually makes more sense because there's more of a conversation to both sides when teams are good. And oftentimes it's the late games. This is not prime time, but this is 4:25. Of course, that is Mountain Time, 2:25. Interesting time. I've never gone to a football game at 2:25 in the afternoon. I don't know how you guys do it out there. It must be an alternative life. That all being said, though, I do like the Chiefs in this game. And I understand I understand. And the beautiful thing about this, as I said, not only is it two good teams, it's also pro football. There's one game a week. There are angles that make sense for both sides. Here's my angle for Kansas City. I think Denver's just too hot. I think they're a little fool's gold. They've won 7 straight games. You have to look at those wins. Barely beat the Jets, 13-11. It was overseas, fine. Still, very pedestrian. Really, really huge comeback against the Giants. Giants are sitting here 2-8, just fired their coach. 33 points in the fourth quarter. Lackluster effort, to say the least. Beat Dallas by 20. Dallas has been very inconsistent. Very fortunate to beat Houston on the road when C.J. Stroud got hurt. Most of the game played by Davis Mills. And last week, week 10, Thursday Night Football, 10-7. Horrible game against Vegas. Point being, wins against Jets, Giants, Houston with a backup quarterback, and Vegas. Prior to that, their other home win was against Cincinnati with a backup quarterback. And the previous win was against Tennessee. So their home wins are against Tennessee, Cincinnati with a backup quarterback, backdoored the Giants, Dallas, and Vegas. Just a super weak schedule. And I think if you look at the Chiefs are a buy low. They started 0-2 on the season. They are actually 5-2 since. And you talk about the weakness of the Broncos' wins. I think you have to talk about the strength of the Chiefs' losses. They have 4 losses. They lost in Brazil to the Chargers. They lost to Philadelphia, of course, who won the Super Bowl last year. They lost at Jacksonville in a game that they had almost 500 yards of offense, and Mahomes threw a 99-yard pick 6, which flipped the entire game. They would have won that game. And they lost to Buffalo, who's their perennial AFC championship, just arch rival. Those are very difficult games and impressive losses. I think the Chiefs get them. Mike likes the Broncos. We enjoy you guys in the chat. Give your takes. Tell us what you think. An opportunity to dominate. That's it for the 4 o'clock card. We're going to the late card here. It doesn't get any softer. It actually gets bigger. 8:20 in Philadelphia. at the length. Lions traveling outdoors to the Eagles. It's going to be a huge game. Interestingly enough, Mike and I were discussing this before we went live. These teams actually haven't played since the 2022 season. You would think, given the quality of these teams in the NFC playoff race, they would have met at least once in the last 2 or 3 years. They have not. We don't really have a lot of matchup data. We haven't seen Dan Campbell coach the Lions in this stadium in, I think, his entire career, maybe once, but years ago. I hate to call this game anecdotal because it's such a huge matchup. The lack of data is difficult. However, Mike's here to save us. Mike, what's going on in this game?
Oh, man, listen. I don't know how this team can continue to be disrespected. There's some turmoil going on offensively. They're not happy with the production, but they continue to find wins. I'm going to talk about this in a second when it comes to disrespect by the Vegas books, but they've got, and this isn't just a subjective, this is objective here. Yes, I'm a fan, but yes, look at the numbers, look at the stats, the wide receiver duo, the Dallas Goedert tight end situation, the offense, the running back with Saquon Barkley. You've got the ability to throw the ball 40 yards or more down the field. They're the tops across the shop in the NFL on the offense. Then you add these defensive players. We saw Phillips last week. Holy cow, man. These guys, setback, Jair Alexander, right? They got to put this guy on the shelf and he's going to contemplate his retirement and his future. Like, all right, I mean, we swung and we're not going to hit home runs all the time. So, we're not going to hold that against Roseman and the squad with the front office of the Eagles. But at the end of the day, for me, stop disrespecting these guys. They have not lost in 11 straight games against the NFC North. They don't care. They're 9-0 against the spread when you put them between the threes. Why is that relevant? Because threes, typically that suggests we're not sure. Are they a favorite? Are they a dog? Should they win? Should they lose? They go out there and they stomp 9-0 the last 9 times you put them in that threes position out there. I'll tell you this, we're talking about kind of look ahead spots, and I like to fade the team after they play the Lions because it's a tough game. It's a physical game. It's a gritty game. Yeah, we see a lot of scores with these Lions teams. They go back and forth, run it down the field. A.J. Brown's going to have a monster game this week. He's been the guy they've been talking about he's not happy. He keeps making these comments about wanting to be out of here. And, well, he's here. And he's going to have to make the best of it. He went to high school with, Hurts. Boys growing up together. You got a Heisman champion and Devonta Smith. We saw what he did last week with that catch there against the Green Bay Packers. Perfect shot from Jalen Hurts to throw it right over that double coverage and get it to Devonta Smith. That was the needed go-ahead spot out there. Defensively, they can run with the best of them. Offensively, they can gas with the best of them. I'm going to take the Eagles in this spot. And, I think this is a big opportunity for us to get this W. Again, next week, I might look to fade these boys after the Lions game here, but this is a big one. This is a showcase game for them. They already went out there and took down the Packers, who were leading in the NFC. They got these Rams and Seahawks games they're going to handle themselves. They're going to go out there, handle business against these Lions, and then secure themselves atop of the NFC as they look to get that bye week for the first week of the playoffs. It's that time of year, and as numbers come down, we got a lot of people buying in on the Lions, 82% of the bets, 87% of the cash. Minus 2.5 now. Look, I don't think you have to get cute with it. Minus 140 is a fair money line spot, but minus 2.5 is fine too. But let's get these Eagles fly. On the way to victory, 47.5 is the total. It's come down to 46.5. Give me an EAGLES, Eagles Shark. That's the way we do it, my friend. Let's put a bow on the show.
Hey, I honestly couldn't talk you off it. I mean, just a tough game for me. And as I said, haven't played in 4 years, so it's going to be a little anecdotal. I do think the under in the game is pretty interesting. That line, obviously, pretty low for a Lions game, 47 and steam down. The Lions actually last week, 44-22 at Washington. So staying on the road off a road game. The only other time this year they've done that, they actually had an over at Cincinnati in week 5, 37-24. Similar spot, I think. Stayed on the road week 6 at Kansas City, only scored 17 points and lost 30-17. And the Lions actually in this Dan Campbell window, since they became the contending Lions, of course, in his early years, they were abysmal. Since they started contending, their worst spot has been the second game in a back-to-back road sequence. Very noteworthy. And I think that's what you could see here. Mike likes Philadelphia. I could see an under that is unofficial, just giving you guys an angle. But we got the best angles and the best bets. Sundays are for the Sharps. It is NFL Week 11, the Betting Blitz, the Shark and Mikey Money. Mike, how many best bets do you have this week?
I got a 4-pack for the squad here. We had a nice week last week, 5-2 on our best bet segments. We've been cranking, man. We've been firing and taking names. I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers at the plus 3.5. Again, I think there's an opportunity for those boys to dominate, win the game outright. I like that Green Bay team total over 24.5. Cincinnati plus 5.5, and I'm going to do it. I know we're head to head, but the Denver Broncos plus 3.5 to me, contrarian city. All these dogs, I think, are available to bark. I think they have the shot to win outright. That's how I like to give the dogs out there. But let's go, my guy. Let's hear what you got in your back pocket. How are we getting paid?
Yeah, I'm going to give 4 as well. Carolina plus 3.5. Did you give Carolina?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, so I'll revise. That's a collab. My other 3, I like Buffalo minus 5.5. Great bounce back there, as we detailed earlier in the show. Very much aligned with Mike's other best bet. We're taking the Green Bay Giants game over 42.5. I like San Francisco at minus 3. I wanted to give you guys one more. Truthfully, those are my best bets, however. So we'll just stay with that, and we'll do the collab. So we'll do the collab plus 3.5 Carolina, Buffalo, Giants, Packers over, and San Francisco. So you got 7 top plays, 1 collab, and an opportunity to dominate. We will probably start the parlays up just for fun next week and the Q&A. We appreciate you guys in the chat hanging out with us. 56.5 minutes, the fastest, most data pack you will find. Mike, give him some words, and I'll close it out.
Great stuff, man. I always love doing this show. This has become I love talking football. I'll talk sports with you all day, man. This has been a great time. As always, let's get this domination in play. Let's put these bookies on notice, man. The Betting Blitz with Mikey Money and the Shark are here to get you guys paid. Thank you guys for checking us out. Follow me over at @PimpSlapPod. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the notification on at the Sports Money Network. We do this stuff on the regular, man. Appreciate you, Shark, as always. Let's go, my friend.
Without question, this is just an incredible high ride show. To pack this much information in less than an hour is really just, it's a pleasure. We love to do it for you guys. We appreciate you guys in the chat. We appreciate people that do not comment in the chat. We know 95% of people are not commenting, but watching. We see you guys, and we connect with you guys as well. Speaking of connection, let's connect with this card. We got a ton of official plays. I'm on X, Sharks and Sports 88, and selling packages in the NBA, $99 a season, and we're going to dominate this card. We appreciate you guys immensely. Have a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. It is NFL The Betting Blitz, Week 11. For Mikey Money, I am the Shark. Stay fast, stay strong, stay disciplined, and let's dominate.